The battlefield burned under a sky choked with gunpowder smoke. Private Lena Markov clutched the rifle. Her comrades ridiculed a mail-order weapon they dismissed as cheap and unreliable amid the storm of bullets. In their eyes, it was nothing more than a toy in a war that demanded precision. But when 11 enemy snipers locked their sights on her company, Lena was the only one who could pinpoint their positions. 3 days without sleep, her eye never leaving the scope, she silently dropped them one by one. By the time the last body fell, everyone understood. They had misjudged the most dangerous person on the battlefield. The eastern gray rock ridge stood like a row of shattered teeth against the winter sky. Snow clung to the stone faces, turning black where artillery had scorched the earth. Company 43 carved fighting positions into the frozen ground, pickaxes ringing against rock that refused to yield. Lena Markov crouched in a shallow trench, running an oiled cloth along her rifle's barrel. The weapon was light, too light, some said. No military stamp, no arsenal pedigree. She'd ordered it through a catalog before deployment, cobbling together parts from 3 different manufacturers. The stock showed scratches from her own modifications. The scope came from a hunting supplier in Montana. Still playing with that toy, Markov? Corporal Derek Hayes kicked snow in her direction. Command's gonna make you turn that in when we get to the rear. Get yourself a real weapon. She didn't look up. Her fingers traced the bolt mechanism, checking for ice buildup. I said, "I heard you." Her voice carried no heat, just fact. Hayes snorted and moved on, joining the cluster of soldiers around Lieutenant Marcus Chen. The lieutenant was young, promoted after the disaster at Willow Creek, when half the officer corps got cut down in a minefield. He had good instincts but deferred too often to his sergeant's men like Hayes, who measured worth by regulation and reputation. Lena had neither. She'd enlisted 6 months after her brother died in the Valley Offensive. Thomas Markov, decorated marksman, killed by a sniper he never saw. She'd found his last letter 3 weeks after the funeral. "Take someone who understands the weapon," he'd written, "not just carries it." She'd spent 2 years as a gunsmith's apprentice before the war. While other girls her age learned to type and file, she learned tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch. She understood metallurgy, wind drift, barrel harmonics. Her rifle might look like a mongrel, but every component had been chosen for a reason. The company had lost 12 soldiers in the last week, not to frontal assault or artillery, to single shots, precise, always at dawn or dusk when light played tricks and exhaustion dulled reflexes. Someone was hunting them. Lena had noticed the pattern 3 days ago. She'd mapped the shots in her notebook, times, positions, angles of entry. The wounds told stories. High-velocity rounds, custom loads, fired from elevated positions at distances exceeding 800 meters. Professional work. She'd tried to tell Hayes. He'd laughed. "You're a parts clerk with a rifle, Markov. Leave the thinking to people who know what they're doing." Now the company dug in, preparing for an offensive that might never come. Because you couldn't advance when you couldn't stand up without getting your head blown off. The sun bled toward the western peaks. Lena watched shadows creep across the valley floor, calculating angles. The ridgeline to the north offered 17 viable positions for a spotter. The eastern cliffs, maybe 30. South was too exposed. But west had the old logging roads, high ground with cover, clear sightlines into their position. She started assembling her gear. "Where you going?" Private First Class Jessica Ortiz was the closest thing Lena had to a friend. They'd shared night watch twice, and Jessica didn't mock the rifle. Perimeter check. Chen's got sentries posted. "I know." Jessica studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Don't get shot by your own guys." Lena moved along the trench line, keeping below the ridge. The temperature was dropping fast. Good. Cold air was dense, predictable. She could calculate for it. She found a position 20 meters from the main fighting line, a crack in the rocks where 2 slabs met at an angle. Barely wide enough for her shoulders. She wedged herself in, using a rolled jacket to stabilize the rifle. Then she waited. The first shot came at 2,147 hours. Private Ryan Castellano was rotating out of the listening post, moving through a gap in the defensive wire. The shot took him in the chest, spinning him sideways. He hit the ground and didn't move. Lena pressed her eye to the scope, already tracking the sound. The crack had come from the northwest, high, at least 700 meters. She'd been right about the logging roads. Medics scrambled toward Castellano. Lieutenant Chen screamed into his radio. Hayes organized a sweep team that wouldn't find anything in the dark. Lena remained still, watching the ridgeline through her scope. She'd heard something else beneath the shot's echo, a second report, slightly offset. Different pitch. 2 snipers, minimum. The company spent the night locked down, no movement above ground. Castellano died before they could get him to the field hospital. The round had clipped his heart. At dawn, Lieutenant Chen called a meeting in the command bunker. 15 soldiers crammed into a space meant for 8. Maps covered the dirt walls, marked with red crosses where casualties had fallen. We've got a problem. Chen looked older than his 24 years. Battalion intelligence confirms enemy sniper activity across the entire sector. At least 3 teams, maybe more. So we stay below ground until artillery can soften them up, Hayes said. Artillery can't help us. They're too mobile. Hit and relocate. We need counter-sniper operations. Who've we got? Chen's eyes swept the bunker. Found Lena in the back corner. Kept moving. Staff Sergeant Pierce had the training. But he's at the field hospital with a shattered hand. Chen rubbed his face. I'm open to suggestions. I can do it. Lena's voice cut through the murmuring. The bunker went quiet. Hayes turned. You? I mapped last night's shot. I know where it came from. I can identify at least 2 firing positions based on the acoustic signature. Acoustic signature. Hayes made it sound like she'd claimed to read tea leaves. You counted echoes in the dark. Sound travels at 343 meters per second at 0 degrees Celsius. The primary report came 2.1 seconds before I heard it. That puts the shooter at roughly 720 meters. Northwest, elevation advantage of approximately 90 meters. The secondary report suggests a spotter or second shooter at... This isn't a physics class, Markov. Chen held up his hand. Let her finish. Lena pulled out her notebook, spread it on the crate they used as a table. Her diagrams showed the valley floor, marked with vectors and calculations. They're using a loose V formation, 2 on the high ground for overwatch, probably 1 or 2 forward observers in closer positions. Classic area denial. They want us pinned here while their main force maneuvers. The lieutenant studied her work. This is detailed. My brother was a sniper. He taught me to see the battlefield the way they do. Your brother's not here, Hayes said, and that toy gun you're carrying wouldn't scare a crow. The rifle is chambered in. 308 Winchester, free-floated barrel, match-grade trigger at 2.5 pounds. I've tested it to 900 meters. It'll do what I need. What you need is a real military weapon with real credentials. Chen cut between them. Hayes, enough. Markov, you really think you can locate these shooters? I already have 2 confirmed positions, working on the others. And then what? You're not trained for this. I fix weapons for a living. I understand how they work, how they fail, what their limitations are. Give me 48 hours. Hayes laughed. 48 hours. She's gonna get herself killed in 48 minutes. Chen looked at the map, at the red crosses, at the shrinking number of soldiers under his command. You've got 24 hours, Markov. If you can take out even one of these bastards, it might give us room to maneuver. I'll need freedom to move during low light conditions. And I work alone. The hell you do, Hayes started, but Chen waved him off. Alone? But you check in every 4 hours or I send a search team. Lena nodded once and left the bunker. She moved through the position at dusk, invisible as smoke. The mail-order rifle rode across her shoulders. Wrapped in burlap strips, she dyed with mud and ash. Her face was shadowed under a watch cap pulled low. Jessica caught up to her at the perimeter. You don't have to do this. Nobody expects you to be a hero. I'm not trying to be a hero. Then why? Lena checked her rifle's action for the 100th time. Because I'm tired of watching people die. And because I'm the only one who can see where the shots are coming from. How do you know? I listen. She slipped through the wire as full darkness settled. The temperature had dropped to 15 degrees. Her breath frosted the air, so she breathed through a cloth to scatter the vapor. The first position was 400 meters northwest, tucked into a jumble of rocks that overlooked their entire defensive line. She'd identified it by the angle of yesterday's kill shot and the small detail no one else had noticed, a reflection that lasted 3 seconds too long, metal where no metal should be. The climb took 90 minutes. Every movement calculated, every footfall tested. The position was empty, but they'd been here. She found the disturbed snow where a bipod had rested, shell casing just one, which meant they policed their brass. Professional. The snow showed boot prints leading northeast along the ridge. She followed. 200 meters later, she found the observation post, still occupied. She could see him through her scope, a figure wrapped in winter camouflage, watching the valley through binoculars. No weapon visible. The spotter. Lena settled into a depression in the rocks. Range, 340 meters. Wind, 4 miles per hour, left to right. Elevation, negligible at this distance. She controlled her breathing, slowed her heart rate. The rifle settled into her shoulder like it had been made for her because, in a way, it had. The shot broke clean. The spotter jerked once and slumped forward. Lena cycled the bolt, ejected the brass, pocketed it. She was moving before the body stopped falling. The shooter would have heard, would be relocating. She had maybe 3 minutes before he found a new perch. She dropped off the ridge, circled east, came up through a different approach. Her training as a gunsmith paid dividends. Now she understood the mechanics of a sniper team. They worked in patterns, predictable to someone who thought in systems. She found him changing positions, moving fast but not panicked. He knew his business. She was faster. Range, 680 meters. Wind picking up, now 7 miles per hour, gusting. Angle, uphill, approximately 12 degrees. She dialed in the elevation, adjusted for the wind. He stopped to check his back trail. The bullet took him high in the chest. 2 down. Lena didn't feel triumph. Didn't feel anything except the cold and the weight of the rifle and the knowledge that 9 more were out there, hunting her people. She radioed in. Whiskey 4-3, this is Markov. 2 confirmed, returning to base. Chen's voice crackled back. Copy that. Well done. She heard Hayes in the background. Luck. Had to be luck. Lena clicked off the radio and started back. By morning, the entire company knew. The quiet girl with the mail-order rifle had taken out 2 enemy snipers in one night. Hayes still insisted it was luck. But Lieutenant Chen upgraded her ammunition allocation and gave her priority on watch rotations. Jessica brought her coffee, real coffee, traded from a supply sergeant who owed her a favor. They're saying you might be the real deal, Jessica said. Lena cleaned her rifle. The barrel showed minimal wear, which meant her load calculations were correct. They're saying lots of things. Hayes is pissed. He's been in 3 years and never got a confirmed kill. This isn't a competition. Tell that to him. The morning passed quietly. Too quietly. No shots, no movement on the ridges. The enemy snipers had gone to ground, reassessing. Lena used the time to study the terrain. She'd eliminated the northwest position, but her calculations suggested at least 9 more shooters. They'd be adjusting tactics now, spreading out, making themselves harder to find. She needed to think like them. At 1,400 hours, a supply convoy arrived from battalion. 3 trucks, moving slow along the exposed valley road. Company 43 had soldiers positioned to offload quickly food, ammunition, medical supplies. The first truck was halfway to the unloading point when the shooting started. 3 shots, so close together they sounded like one. The driver of the lead truck went down. The vehicle swerved, tipped, rolled. Supplies scattered across the road. Soldiers scrambled for cover. More shots. A private took a round through the leg. Another through the shoulder. Chen screamed into the radio. Sniper! Multiple snipers! Lena was already moving. She'd heard the shots, counted them, tracked them. Her mind processed angles and distances like a computer running calculations. 3 shooters. Eastern cliffs. Staggered positions. Range, 850 to 920 meters. She found her position in seconds, a crack in the rocks with a clear view across the valley. The mail-order rifle settled against her shoulder. She dialed in the range, adjusted for the 12-mile-per-hour wind now blowing down the valley. First target, 870 meters, dug into a crevice in the cliff face. She could see the barrel protruding slightly. Amateur mistake. They were good, but not perfect. She breathed out, squeezed. The shot echoed across the valley. The barrel disappeared. Second target, harder, deeper in cover. But she'd seen the muzzle flash. She calculated the position. adjusted 3 clicks right for wind, breathed, squeezed. The suppressive fire from that position stopped. Third target, the smart one. He'd already relocated after the first shot, but Lena had tracked him, watched where the shadows moved. She found him settling into a new position 940 meters out. Long shot, at the edge of her rifle's effective range. She adjusted for the extreme distance, the wind, the uphill angle. Every variable mattered at this range. A single miscalculation meant a miss. She steadied her breathing, slowed her heart. The rifle became an extension of her body. The shot broke. 4 seconds later, the distant figure crumpled. The valley went silent. Lena cycled the bolt, ejected the brass, chambered a fresh round, waited, watched, listened. No more shots. She keyed her radio. Whiskey 4-3. 3 more confirmed. Eastern cliffs are clear. This time, Hayes didn't say anything about luck. By nightfall, the body count stood at 5 enemy snipers eliminated. The supply convoy had been recovered. The wounded were stabilized and evacuated. Lieutenant Chen found Lena cleaning her rifle in the fighting position she'd claimed as her own. That was exceptional work today, Private. Just doing my job, sir. That's not just a job. I don't know what that is. Pierce never could have made those shots. Staff Sergeant Pierce had training. I just have practice. Chen sat on the edge of the trench. Your brother really taught you all this? Some. The rest I figured out. The rifle. Why'd you build it yourself? Lena ran the cleaning rod through the barrel. Because I wanted to understand it completely. Every part, every function. You can't trust something you don't understand. The guys are calling it the mail order miracle. It's a tool, like a hammer. Miracle is giving it credit it doesn't deserve. And what about you? Are you just a tool? She looked at him then. I'm someone trying to keep people alive, sir. Chen nodded slowly. Intel just came through. They're estimating at least 6 more enemy snipers in the sector, maybe 8. They're bringing in specialists from their Alpine units. This is going to get worse before it gets better. I know. Can you handle that? If we ask you to keep going? I don't plan to stop, sir. He left her to her work. That night, Lena didn't sleep. She studied her maps, cross-referenced every position, calculated probable locations for the remaining shooters. They'd be more careful now, more professional. The easy targets were gone. The real test was coming. Day 2 began with snow. Not the light dusting they'd endured for weeks, but a legitimate blizzard that reduced visibility to 20 meters. Wind howled through the rocks, driving ice crystals that felt like needles against exposed skin. Forget it, Hayes said at the morning briefing. Nobody's shooting in this. We sit tight. Lena disagreed. This is perfect weather for them. We can't see them, but they know where we are. They can get close, take shots during the whiteout gusts, and disappear. In this wind? Ballistics are impossible. Not if you understand the patterns. Wind isn't random. It channels through valleys, breaks around ridges. You can predict it if you know the terrain. Chen looked between them. And you know the terrain? I've been watching it for 2 weeks. I know how the wind moves. So what do you propose? Let me go out, find them before they find us. Hayes laughed. You want to hunt in a blizzard? That's suicide. It's an advantage. They won't expect anyone to be moving. I'll be invisible. Chen considered for a long moment. All right, but you stay within radio range. And Markov? Don't die. That's an order. Yes, sir. She went out at 0900 hours, wrapped in white camouflage that made her nearly invisible against the snow. The mail-order rifle was wrapped in strips of white cloth. Her face was covered, except for her eyes. The storm was worse than she'd anticipated. Visibility dropped to 10 meters during the heavy gusts, but between the gusts, she could see perhaps 50 meters. Enough. She moved through the storm like a ghost, following the terrain features she'd memorized. The first position she checked was empty. The second showed signs of recent occupation: compressed snow, a protein bar wrapper. She was close. The third position was occupied. She almost walked past it, a tiny cave in the rocks, barely large enough for one person. The entrance was camouflaged with snow and branches. She saw the barrel first, just the tip, protruding through a gap in the camouflage. Range: 85 meters. Point blank for a rifle. She brought her weapon up slowly. The snow muffled every sound. The wind screamed around her. The shot was anticlimactic. The figure in the cave jerked once and went still. 6 down. She marked the position and kept moving. Over the next 8 hours, she hunted through the blizzard. The storm actually helped it. Isolated sounds made everything local. When she heard a bolt cycle or a radio click, she knew it was close. She found the next one at 1,430 hours, crouched in a depression in the rocks. He never saw her. 7 down. The 8th one almost got her. She'd been tracking boot prints when the shot cracked past her head, missing by inches. She dove behind a boulder as 2 more rounds ricocheted off the rock. This one was good. Maybe the best she'd faced. They dueled through the storm for 20 minutes. Cat and mouse. She'd move, he'd shoot, he'd relocate, she'd track. The snow provided cover, but it also hid threats. Finally, she saw him silhouetted against a gust of white. Just for a second, just long enough. Range, 340 meters, through driving snow, with 20-mile-per-hour gusting wind. She compensated for everything: wind drift, the drop in air density, the moisture in the air. The math played out in her head in milliseconds. The shot broke clean. 8 down. By the time she found the 9th shooter, the storm was breaking. Visibility improved to 100 meters, then 200. She spotted him relocating between positions, moving fast across open ground. He realized his mistake when he saw her standing in the open, rifle already mounted. Range, 620 meters, clear shot, no wind. 9 down. She radioed in. Whiskey 4-3, 4 more confirmed, total 9, I'm coming back. Chen's voice was stunned. 9? In one day? In this weather? The weather helped. They weren't expecting anyone to be moving. Get back here, that's enough for today. Roger that. She trudged back through the snow as the storm cleared. Her body ached. She hadn't eaten since morning, hadn't had water in 6 hours. But the rifle was still clean, still functioning perfectly, just like she designed it to. That night, Company 43 celebrated. 9 enemy snipers eliminated in 2 days. The siege was broken. They could move freely again, resupply, reinforce. But Lena didn't celebrate. She sat in her position, cleaning her rifle, reviewing her notes. 9 down. But she'd counted 11 distinct shooting positions before the storm, maybe 12. The math didn't work. 2 were still out there, at least. And they'd be angry. At 0230 hours, the camp alarm sounded. Sentry down on the north perimeter. Clean headshot through night vision goggles. Lena grabbed her rifle and moved. By the time she reached the perimeter, 3 more soldiers were down. No one had seen the shooter. No one had heard the shots. This was different. This was someone who operated on a different level. She found Lieutenant Chen coordinating the response. It's just 1 shooter this time, she said. Maybe 2, but different from the others. How do you know? The shot pattern. The timing. This is precision work. Someone trained at the highest levels. Can you find them? I can try. Be careful. Whoever this is, they're better than the others. She knew he was right. She set up in a position overlooking the northern approaches. Waited, watched. The enemy sniper didn't shoot again for 2 hours. When he did, the shot came from a completely different angle, south instead of north. He'd circled the entire position. In darkness, without being detected. Professional didn't begin to describe it. Lena started thinking in terms of terrain mastery. Where would she go if she wanted to dominate this position? The answer came quickly. The old watchtower ruins, 1,100 meters south-southwest, clear lines of sight, multiple shooting positions, easy exfiltration routes. She marked the location and started moving. The approach took 90 minutes. Every step calculated. She knew she was dealing with someone who understood the game as well as she did. Maybe better. The ruins appeared through the darkness, crumbling stone walls, collapsed roof, weeds grown up through the floor. She glassed the area through her scope, saw nothing, but she felt him watching. She took a position in a cluster of rocks 200 meters from the ruins, waited. The eastern sky was just starting to lighten when she saw the movement, a shadow that didn't quite match the other shadows. Range, 890 meters. Extreme angle. Pre-dawn light playing tricks with depth perception. She started to calculate the shot when a bullet struck the rock 6 inches from her head. She rolled left as 2 more rounds stitched the air where she'd been. He'd been waiting for her, had predicted she'd come. This was the real deal. The ghost of Grey Rock Ridge. The one the intelligence reports whispered about. 20 confirmed kills, never photographed, never captured. Some units claimed he was a myth. He was real. And he'd just declared war. They fought through the dawn. Shot and countershot. Movement and misdirection. Lena used every trick her brother had taught her. Every technique she developed on her own. The ghost matched her move for move. She'd fire from one position, relocate before the return shot arrived. He did the same. They circled each other like wolves, neither willing to give the other an opening. The sun climbed higher. Company 43 radioed for updates. She couldn't answer. Answering meant revealing position. Revealing position meant death. At 0645 hours, she gained an advantage. The ghost made a mistake. Tiny, nearly imperceptible, but a mistake. He'd repositioned to a spot with a reflective metal surface behind him. The morning sun caught it for just a fraction of a second. Enough. She calculated the angle, compensated for the reflection distortion, adjusted for the fact that she was shooting at an image, not the actual position. The math was complex. The shot was nearly impossible. She took it anyway. The mail-order rifle bucked against her shoulder. The shot flew true up through the reflected angle, deflecting off the metal surface at precisely the calculated vector, arriving at the ghost's position from an impossible direction. The return fire stopped. Lena waited. 30 seconds, 60, 2 minutes. No movement. She carefully, slowly, made her way toward the ruins, every nerve screaming that this was a trap, that he was waiting. She found him behind the collapsed wall, blood spreading across his chest. The deflected shot had caught him under the armpit where his vest didn't protect. Through and through, probably hit the lung. He was still alive, barely. "Neat trick," he whispered. Blood bubbled at his lips. "Didn't think anyone could calculate that shot. I understand deflection angles. Who taught you?" "My brother, before your side killed him." "Markov?" His eyes widened slightly. "Thomas Markov? You knew him?" "Best I ever faced. Took me 3 days to find him." He coughed. "More blood. You his sister?" "Yes." He'd be proud. That rifle, mail order, catalog parts, custom assembly. He laughed. It turned into a choking sound. "Killed by a mail order rifle. Nobody's going to believe it. You killed a lot of good people." "So did you." "I know." He died 30 seconds later. Lena sat there for a moment, staring at the rifle in her hands. 11 confirmed kills in 3 days. She'd become the thing she'd hunted. She radioed in. "Whiskey 4-3. All clear. The ghost is down." Chen's voice cracked with relief. "All of them? All the snipers?" "Every one I could find. If there are more, they're running." "Get back here." "That's an order." "On my way." She stood, shouldered the mail-order rifle, and started the long walk back. Company 43 assembled as she walked into the perimeter. Every soldier, even the wounded who could stand. They lined the approach to the command bunker in silence. As she passed, they began to clap, slowly at first, then building. By the time she reached Lieutenant Chen, the sound was deafening. She stopped in front of him and saluted. He returned it. "Well done, Private Markov. Well done." Hayes stepped forward. She expected more skepticism, more doubt. Instead, he extended his hand. "I was wrong about you, about that rifle. I apologize." She shook his hand. "Accepted. How did you do it? How did you beat the ghost?" "I understood my weapon better than he understood his." Jessica appeared with a wooden plaque, rough cut but carefully carved. It read, "The quiet one who saved us all." "We took a vote," Jessica said. "It was unanimous." Lena accepted it, ran her fingers over the carved letters. "Thank you." "Speech," someone called. "Speech." The chant built. She waited until it quieted. "I didn't do this for recognition. I did it because it needed doing, because people were dying and I had the skills to stop it. The rifle they mocked worked because I understood it. I trusted it, and it never let me down." She paused. "That's all any of us can do. Understand our tools, trust our training, take care of each other." The soldiers dispersed slowly. Chen called her to his bunker. "Battalion wants to know if you'll train other soldiers. Teach them what you know. I'm a gunsmith, not an instructor. You're the best combat sniper in the sector, maybe the best in the division. Think about it." "I will, sir." She returned to her position, the mail order rifle across her knees. She cleaned it methodically, the way she always did. The barrel showed minimal wear, the action was smooth. Every component functioned exactly as designed. It had never been about the rifle's pedigree. It had been about understanding, knowledge, skill. She thought about her brother, about the letter. Take someone who understands the weapon. She understood now, not just the weapon, the responsibility, the weight, the cost. The story spread through the division like wildfire. The girl with the mail order rifle who took down 11 enemy snipers in 3 days, who faced the ghost of Grey Rock Ridge and won. They called her the catalog killer, the mail order miracle. She ignored the nicknames, focused on the work. Company 43 held the line for 2 more weeks, then rotated to the rear. Lena went with them, still carrying the rifle that had become legend. At battalion headquarters, a full colonel wanted to see the weapon. She handed it over, watched him examine it with skeptical eyes. "Custom build?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Military would never approve something like this. Too many variables. Too unreliable. With respect, sir, it's not unreliable. It's precisely matched to my specifications. I understand every component, every tolerance, every limitation. And if someone else tried to use it, they'd probably miss. It's tuned to my physiology, my breathing pattern, my trigger pull." He handed it back. "Battalion's offering you a slot at sniper school. Top-tier training, best weapons." "I appreciate that, sir, but I'm happy with what I have. The mail order rifle." "Yes, sir." He shook his head. 11 kills in 3 days. With a catalog gun, they're going to study you at the war college. I hope they study the right lessons, sir. Which are that the weapon matters less than the person behind it. That understanding beats reputation. That sometimes the best tool is the one you built yourself. He smiled. Dismissed, private. She found Jessica outside the headquarters building. What did the colonel want? To understand the rifle? Did he? No. But that's all right. Most people won't. They walked toward the mess hall. The mail order rifle rode easy on Lena's shoulder, still wrapped in its mud-dyed burlap. "What are you going to do after the war?" Jessica asked. "Go back to the shop, I think. Fix things. Build things. You could do more. With your reputation." "I don't want reputation. I want to go home." "Fair enough." At the mess hall entrance, Hayes stopped them. "Markov, got a minute?" Jessica kept walking. Hayes waited until she was out of earshot. "I wanted to say again that I'm sorry for how I treated you, for mocking the rifle. It's forgotten." "No, it's not. You remember everything. It's part of what makes you good." He shifted his weight. "I learned something watching you, about assumptions, about judging things by their appearance instead of their performance." "Good. That's worth learning. The guys wanted me to ask if you'd teach them, not the advanced stuff, just the basics, how to really understand their weapons." "I'm not an instructor. You're the best teacher we've got. You taught all of us that the weapon isn't what matters. It's the person." She considered. "I could do that. Thank you." He walked away. Lena looked at the rifle in her hands. The stock showed new scratches from 3 days of combat. The scope had held 0 through everything. The barrel was still true. She'd built it from parts, from knowledge, from understanding. It had never let her down. 3 weeks later, Company 43 shipped out for a new sector. Lena went with them, still carrying the mail order rifle that had become a legend. When asked how she defeated 11 enemy snipers in 3 days, she always gave the same answer. "I didn't shoot to prove anything. I shot to bring all of us home." And she'd walk away, quiet as always, the rifle slung across her shoulders like an old friend. Because that's all it had ever been. A tool, built with care, understood completely, trusted absolutely. And in the end, that trust had saved lives. That was worth more than any reputation. That was worth everything.